I quit the job. I only had $500 to my name. Rent for the next month was $750. So if you do the math, you can tell we were already behind.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the new episode of eCom 365. I'm co-founder and CEO of ShopAgain.io. For this episode, I have a new guest with me. Steven is a corporate employee turned seven-figure online business owner. He had quite a journey before losing everything in 2015 to this point of owning a successful business. Thanks for joining us, Steven. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for that intro. Thank you for your time. I'm just excited to be here.
We are also very happy to have you, Steven. When I was, researching about you, Steven, I came across the statement that my mess has become my message. And I like it. There's a ring to it. Could you tell us more about it?
Well, how much time I got? No, I'm just playing. So honestly, there's been a lot of ups and downs. And in that intro that you gave so graciously, it kind of explains part of my journey. And so my wife and I, we got married at 20. Well, I was 20, she was 19, and we were expecting our son. So naturally, when our son came along, we both went right back to work. Not really. My wife decided she wanted to stay home. So I was working a part-time job, and so was she. So we needed income. So she decides to start a business online, and she goes all in on it so she can stay home. And so we thought, hey, two heads is better than one. So I quit my job at 20 and I said, let's do this together. And I quit the job. I only had $500 to my name. Rent for the next month was $750. So if you do the math, you can tell we were already behind. And so we ended up losing everything. We legitimately had to sell everything we had, get rid of everything just to be able to pay that rent and get out of it because we had to break the lease. And we ended up in a family member's basement. So that's a mess. And it was so bad, we couldn't afford formula for our brand new son. And so we're feeding him the clearance carrots that we had to mash up. And I thought that was the end of my life, at 20 years old, this was it. But I was able to, my wife actually applied me for this job. It was a full-time job, benefits, everything. And she told me, hey, you're going to get this job. And I said, I don't think so. I don't know anybody. I don't have the experience, but she was adamant that I was going to get the job. So I went and I interviewed and I got the job. And so that was the beginning of my corporate career, which ended up leading to my e-commerce career.
Amazing. I mean, it's super hard, Steven, what you told, and you were just 20, so you couldn't really blame yourself, I don't know what I was doing when I was 20. So it's easily, understandable that by the age of 20, you didn't have a career figured out. And this was just a lot to manage without any doubt.
And I think it's interesting. I have seen it in my age group, especially with people who are coming out of high school, because we're always asked the question when we're growing up, what do you want to be when you grow up? And at 18 years old, they said, well, you're a grown up now, so go figure it out. And so the thing is, at 20, so 2 years later from the time of graduating high school, I thought my life was over because I didn't know what I wanted to be. I definitely wasn't on the right track because now I'm in a basement. And I didn't even really have any dreams. I just wanted to make enough money to live. And so for people out there that are in a hard spot, just understand that life isn't over. I mean, from going from that point, that was only 8 years ago, to where we've been able to make $1.2 million in less than a year and a half. So I just want to give you reference that it doesn't matter what your situation looks like. There's always brighter days ahead as long as you keep moving, as long as you don't give up.
That's a beautiful message, Steven. And I would add one thing to it. It was hard for you being 20 and the responsibility, of a family, of a new baby. But, this situation of having nothing or, losing everything and starting from scratch happened with quite a few business people, even in last 2 years of pandemic, because their stores shut down. If they had, brick and mortar store, they lost their customers. They couldn't do a thing about it. And for them, it was the same situation, starting from scratch. And it's always hard, there's nothing easy about it. But as you said, if you keep going and if you persist, sooner or later, something does work.
Yep, absolutely.
So as I understand, Steven, you help brick and mortar stores go online, which seems, just the right thing to do in today's time. And especially, even without pandemic, it was already in trend, and pandemic just boosted it up much, much more. Tell us a little bit about it. To start with, how do you find out the ones which have the potential to go online?
So that's a great question. And to answer that, what we've noticed through the last few weeks of doing this is more so the people who are actually the kiosk owners, the people in the middle of the malls, people like that, people that have physical products that are theirs. So similar to ecom, if you've heard of Amazon, you've got private label, white label, stuff like that. Or if you've made your own brand, so it's a thing that it's yours, right? And so it's the same with these business owners. And what we've noticed, what works very well online is normally products. So any kind of products works well. I mean, anything from toys all the way up to high-end jewelry, things of that nature. So those are the people that we look for, because typically those are the people who we've seen success with online.
Okay. And typically, do you consider they should have a certain revenue range or certain amount of goods? Do you know, how do you profile them to decide this is a good fit for your type of investment, basically?
So for us, what we look at is, have they been in business longer than 6 months? Have they actually been able to generate revenue? If so, how much? Because for us, we're coming in and doing a done for you service. So we're not just giving them a course and making them come online. We're actually helping them come online. So with that being said, it is a sizable amount of money. So they have to make a sizable amount of money. We don't want to siphon away from them what is taking away from their mainstream of income, which is their brick and mortar store, right? So for us, we're looking at people who've made anywhere from at least $200,000 revenue and up, because those are the people who we've seen typically, going back to what I said earlier, with them having their own brand or their own suppliers, is their margins are usually higher. They're at least over 50-60%. So at that point, they're able to work with us at the price point that we need, and it's not hurting them or their family.
That makes sense. So tell me a little bit more about it. So you help them go online. Now that's a lot of things could fit in there. Could you break it down for me? How does this process work? So you help them set up their online store. So you have got the developers and designers and marketers. Is that so?
So the biggest thing that we try to do is we want to utilize where there's already organic traffic. If you have a website, and you're hearing me say this, if you're having someone build you one, those are great sources, but at the same time, there's not as much organic. These people are having to come and look for you, right? If I made Steven's and I'm the first one on Google, someone still has to be looking for some kind of keyword that's driving them there. So for us, as we're looking at platforms like Amazon, platforms like Facebook, where there is millions of organic users already, bringing them to a platform where they can actually capture organic sales instead of, and if they have a website, great, like we can find ways to use those together symbiotically. The great thing about what we're providing is we're trying to help people come on to Facebook. We feel that is the e-com platform right now that is the lowest barrier to entry, the least amount of obstacles, and the place where you can really make and capture a lot of sales.
So do these guys sell directly through their Facebook page?
Say that one more time.
So you said, Facebook is a great place for e-commerce businesses to be right now, and it has lowest barrier to entry. So that makes a lot of sense. My next question is, do these sellers sell directly through their Facebook page?
So yes, they can. That is the way that we typically like to do it, is we want to be able to So it depends. What I mean by that is if you go on Facebook right now and you look at Marketplace, or if you want to sell on Marketplace, you can sell as yourself. So I can go on there and I can sell as me. But mainly what we're getting these businesses to do as sell as a business, using their LLC, being able to set it up so it is a business. It's not basically going on Craigslist and trying to sell something. And with that being said, there is a lot of tools that not many people know how to utilize in Facebook, where you can see all your analytics. You can see who your ideal customer is. So that way, if you are a product-based business, you can say, okay, I need a supplier for this kind of product because these are the people who are looking for it. And on top of that, the difference between Facebook and Amazon is you can actually create a customer list and drive them away from Facebook after you get a certain amount of sales, a certain amount of revenue. While Amazon, they don't have anything built in for you to do that. You have to find unique ways to be able to drive them off of Amazon.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's something I've heard from quite a few people, because Amazon being a closed system, it doesn't, really allow you to build relationship with your customers outside that ecosystem.
Yep.
Okay, so explain me a bit more. You help these stores get on their, Facebook marketplace and sell via there. Then once you have onboarded them and set them up on Facebook, what's your responsibility? I mean, does your responsibility end there, or what more do you do for them if it's a ongoing engagement?
So it's an ongoing thing. So we actually have an entire team, and this is the same team that we've used to build a 7-figure empire on Facebook. So we're bringing our entire team and we're doing it all. We're doing your customer service. We're doing it. The only thing we don't do is fulfillment, basically, because we don't have the products. If we had a warehouse, maybe we do that too. But so we do everything from the beginning of the customer service, setting all the things up, being able to get you sales, and then we let you know this is what you got going on. So that way they can fulfill it.
Okay. And now someone who's running a brick and mortar store, they might not have contacts to start doing fulfillment on themselves on their own right away. Do you, put them in touch with relevant people to get started with fulfillment as well?
So the great thing that we do, which is that we have put into our price point, is we actually fly out to them. So with you, if you said, hey, Steven, I want to work with you, and we got on a call, and at the end of the call, we decided to move forward together where we are a good fit to work together, I would come and meet you in person. So I could see what your systems look like. Because for me, I was in corporate for 5.5 years, all in operations. So my job in corporate was to make sure stuff came in and stuff got out. So I'm able to use that experience to come in and say, okay, so this is what you're doing now in your brick and mortar, to be able to meet somebody face to face and sell them something. You get a couple sales that somebody's like, hey, will you send this to my grandmother? And you're giving it to the UPS guy. And I will help them be able to implement a system in their store. That way they can be able to check their phone. Hey, I've got an order. Be able to print out a label and just have it ready to go and then out the door. That's basically the simple way to put it, is we come in, help them be able to build it out. If it's something where they're really scaling, then we would look at more things like a 3PL, a place where they could have it and be able to distribute it in multiple places. So, but in the beginning, they don't need a 3PL. They're not getting any sales online. They have no online presence. So it's about being able to help them where they are.
Okay. And it sounds like, it kind of a ongoing engagement, and there's, some monthly retainer to it. Is that correct?
Right. So technically, no. So for us, what we decided to do, because if I can be honest, there was a call I was on last night that broke my heart, because this lady was paying these people to basically do what we do for almost 3 times the price. She was paying them $10,000 a month, and they got her 1 sale.
Oh my God.
1 in 3 months. So you can do the math. That's a lot of money for 1 sale. And on top of that, they had no guarantee. On top of that, they had never been in e-commerce. And the cherry on top was you can't cancel. If you cancel, you have to pay your way out. So with that being said, is we didn't want to just say, hey, here's what it is, like take it or leave it. If we get you sales, great. If we don't, okay, but you paid us anyways. So for us, is we have a pretty hefty guarantee that if we don't make you at least 50% of your ROI, you get your money back plus what we build, because we believe in what we do, because we've done it for ourselves. And on top of that was we don't have a monthly retainer, because it's a thing where after, if you're working with us and it's working well, then we can continue to talk about pricing. But if it's not working, then we're able to just give you the money back, because we want to keep it as the least amount of friction as possible, right? Because if I'm sitting there and I'm paying you to help me with Shopify, let's say, and it's getting me sales, and I'm like, okay, great, but I'm paying you up front a big fee, and I'm having to pay you every single month on top of that, then I would have to look at things more than just, am I getting 10 extra sales a month? That's great, but now I'm actually making less money because I'm having to pay you every month. I'm actually losing money because I'm running my main thing, and I've got this other thing that's being run for me, but because of all the fees and everything else, I'm actually losing money.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely a fair point. And that also brings one question in my mind, that the lady you talked about who was paying $10,000 a month to this third party to help her go online. Now, even when she was not getting returns for 3 months, her willingness to go online was strong enough for her to continue with those person. So that means, what you're doing has a great market out there, because there are brick and mortar stores who already understands that it's in their best interest to go online. So you don't have to educate your audience from that perspective.
Yeah, there's actually, you alluded to it earlier in this conversation, where in 2020, when the pandemic hit, everything was closed. And if you weren't online, your business, you were just out of business, basically. And if you were online, you actually got to see your sales spike because you couldn't even leave the house. So that's what happened with us. And that's why that has been our mission, to help people that were in that position to be almost, I'm not going to say recession proof, because I don't believe anything is technically recession proof, but at the same time, it's going to give them more leverage. Well, if something happens, Lord forbid, something else happens, another pandemic, and we get shut down, at least I have this other revenue stream. Or as this one person we actually spoke with last week, for him, is he's actually looking to transition. He's looking to sell off his physical storefronts and just go online, but he doesn't know how to, because he's been in the brick and mortar for 15 years. So there's a lot of people out there that are looking for one of two things, which is a second revenue stream that's online, or B, they want to be able to go online so they can have more freedom away from their brick and mortar and just be able to exit their existing business.
Yeah. Fairly said. That's a pattern I'm seeing too, that a lot of business owners are looking forward to be present on more channels and not be tied to just one channel. And that channel could be brick and mortar store, could be Amazon, Shopify, even, having your products physically present in Target, Walmart, or, other such stores as well. But that's a shift I'm seeing, that people are focusing on diversifying because of what happened last couple of years.
Yep. And I think that's really smart. I think even speaking to your audience of e-commerce, if you're in e-commerce and you're only on Amazon or you're only on Facebook, you are at risk. I've been blessed to make 7 figures on Amazon. I've been blessed to make 7 figures on Facebook. And the thing is you're still at the mercy of that platform. Yeah. With Amazon, part of my message is I quit my corporate job. I came home, and 2 months later, our Amazon business is doing really well, and we get shut down. We were doing wholesaling, so we're not drop shipping or anything. We're doing a wholesale, but there was a misunderstanding in how the wholesaler sold us the stuff and how Amazon received it. They thought that it wasn't legitimate. So even though it was, and we had the proof of it, they shut us down. And if you know anything about Amazon, they hold your money. So we were $58,000 in debt, just like that, in a moment. And so I'm sitting here running off my 401k at the time, and we only have 2-3 months left until I'm out. And we were able to transition onto Facebook. So with that being said, even on Facebook, for us, same as you said, we're looking at diversifying, because you don't want to be at the mercy of any one platform. True. I think it is very smart to utilize those platforms to be able to generate revenue, generate sales, figure out who your customer is, but then to transition them to an actual website where they can actually interact with you off of the platform, so you can keep them with you. And it doesn't matter what happens with either of these two juggernauts, these two giants. But if they go away, which eventually somebody will come in and they'll dethrone them. And when that happens, you're not left in the wind like, oh no, my whole life is over.
No, absolutely. For any business, it makes sense to diversify, especially now that we have seen what happens. I mean, nobody thought their brick and mortar store will be hurt, the ones they have running from decades. But who imagined, something like a pandemic would happen? So things happen that you have not imagined. And the only way to safeguard you and your business and your family from these things is to diversify.
Mm-hmm.
True.
And I think, just speaking to the e-com audience, even in 2020, yes, brick and mortars got hurt, but so did Amazon sellers. We actually knew a guy, he was making $25 million on Amazon, but that was his only platform. And if you were selling on Amazon at that time, what they did was they gave you a restriction where you're only able to send in 200 units a week or every 2 weeks. So this guy's doing 25 million a year. 200 units in 2 weeks is not very much. For a reference point, we were doing 100 sales a day. So that means that we're out of inventory within 2 days. So this guy, his revenue got cut from 25 million down to less than 2. So that is a big deal. And that's why, even if you're on e-commerce, don't think that it can't hurt you as well, because that's why it's so important to look at these other platforms as well. Look at creating your own website, look at becoming your own brand, because you don't want to be at the mercy of any one platform.
True. I think that's also the reason why Shopify has seen the exponential growth, because people realize that they want more control over their brand, their customers. And if you build your relationship with your customers, they appreciate you as a business owner and your products, and they can directly speak to you, then that contact will not go away, because you can take those people from one platform to other if they know you personally.
Yep.
Tell me one more thing about how you work with these businesses. So I understand, you continue to help them get more sales. Do you do marketing as well for them?
Yes.
Get traffic? Okay.
Yep. And I think that, again, going back to what you just said, is what we're looking at doing in the future is most likely we're going to partner with somebody to help them build a website or something along that nature, because with us, we like to utilize Facebook. But the great thing with Facebook is because it was a social media platform first before it was any kind of e-commerce. So with that being said, is you are able to create traction, momentum to be able to drive them off of it, to be able to drive them to a website. And that's a great thing about us being able to do marketing for them, is we can ask them a question of, well, to begin with, we're going to run marketing to be able to help them capture sales there. And then in the future, if they want to build a brand off of it, it's, hey, do you want us to transition to running marketing to be able to push people off of it? Like, you're already getting the momentum, the traction here. You're making money here. So being able to recycle that money to push them onto your website to make more reoccurring money, more reoccurring sales, and you're building your brand. Same as you said, you're able to interact with them one-to-one. You're able to keep up with them. They're able to learn more about you and care about you as a brand.
Yeah, that's a great point, Steven, because I mean, most people I've spoken to so far, they either started their online Shopify store directly, or they were brick and mortar store from quite a few years, and then they started their online store. But what you are doing and what you have proposed is, without making that initial investment of building your brand and doing a lot of marketing for that from scratch, they could use Facebook as an intermediate step, build their audience there, get a knack for how online sales, how online business works for them, learn the skills, and then take next step to build their own brand out of any platform, maybe build a Shopify store for themselves.
Yes, absolutely. I think that that's exactly what it is. Just because a lot of people, even if you have funds set aside to build a brand, to become a brand takes a lot of money.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you're like, I know that with Shopify and websites, that may not be a over the top amount of money, but let's say that you're creating a product and having to go through all the different steps costs a lot of money. Even if you want to do private label, at the minimum, you need it at the minimum $5,000 set aside to be able to get into it. So why start with that high of a barrier to entry when we can use someone else like a Facebook to be able to generate you sales, which then you can use that money to transition to building your brand. And you're building your brand there too, because people are getting to know, like, and trust you there on Facebook. You're able to fulfill through Facebook. You're not having to worry about integrating anything. And then in the future, you're able to say, hey, if you really enjoy this, go here. And then you're able to run deals, run sales, offers, whatever it is, to your website. So then people will transition over there.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. And I can see, why it's an attractive offer for those who have no experience to selling online. That was a great conversation, Steven, and thanks for sharing your story with us. It was absolutely great to hear that. Finally, to our viewers, if you have any questions about e-commerce paid acquisition, marketing, retention, development, email us at ecom365@shopagain.io, and we will have them answered by an expert in the future episode. This episode was sponsored by ShopAgain.io, an AI-powered customer retention platform. Thank you for joining us.